Have you ever thought that just a tingling in your leg, a small fall, could change your entire life? I didn't. Until 1998, when I had just turned 40. One day, I felt a slight numbness in my right leg. I didn't pay attention. Everyone gets pins and needles sometimes, right? But then, during a rehearsal with the orchestra, I stepped down from the riser. And my leg gave out. I fell. Suddenly. Unreasonably. Frighteningly. I went to see the doctors. Both of them said, "It's nothing serious. Maybe just a pinched nerve." I believed them. But illness doesn't care about your belief. 2 months later, I started losing vision in my left eye. My first time seeing a neurologist, he said bluntly, "You have MS, multiple sclerosis." I froze. It was the same disease that had ended the career of Jacqueline du Pré, the legendary cellist. She had to leave the stage at 26 and passed away at 42. I was a cellist. And now, I was facing the same sentence. 4 months later, my right eye began to fade too. I started to feel constant nausea, like motion sickness that lasted for weeks. I couldn't eat. Couldn't drink. I was eventually hospitalized for severe dehydration. 4 days later, I was discharged, but I could no longer lift my hands. I couldn't play the cello. Couldn't walk. Couldn't control my own body. I went back to the doctor. He ran a few tests. I couldn't see any lights. Couldn't read a single letter. Couldn't press the button even once. Then he said, "I'll write a certificate for permanent disability." I looked at him. It felt like the whole world collapsed. But then I said, "Keep that paper. I'll be back on stage in 6 weeks." I remembered a story about a truck stuck under a bridge. Engineers tried everything to raise the bridge. But a little boy riding by said, "Why don't you just let the air out of the tires?" The entire adult world went silent. So did I. And I asked myself, how do I let the air out of this disease? I started with something simple, drinking lots of water, the water cure method. Half my body weight in ounces, every single day. And then, I started to see the first signs of recovery. I studied the placebo effect. Then began meditating. Twice a day. 30 minutes each time. I visualized the disease dissolving. My body healing. And I believed it. One day, I walked past a national park and saw a sign. "Do not feed deer human food. It shortens their lifespan by up to 30%. I laughed, but I also realized something. If I wanted to live strong like that deer, I had to live more naturally. Simpler. More in tune with life. I started working out, yoga, weightlifting, cycling. At first, all I could do was tremble on the floor. But I thought of Roger Bannister, the first person to run a mile under 4 minutes. And Nolan Ryan, who threw a no-hitter at age 44. If they could do the impossible, then so could I. In 2013, I met Nando Pardu, the survivor of the Andes plane crash. He walked over 60 kilometers through snowy mountains to save lives. No shoes. No gloves. No food. I hugged him and said, "You're the reason I'm still alive." He replied, "I wasn't supposed to live either." In that moment, I felt something heal inside me. I returned to my neurologist. They did full MRIs of my brain and spinal cord. Previously, I had over 50 lesions. Now, nothing. No traces. The doctor said, "You've done the impossible." I could walk again. See clearly. Control my body. And I played the cello again. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from medicine, but from a will that refuses to surrender. From a small child inside you, whispering, "You can." Even when the whole world says you can't.